What would you do if you woke up to invisible footsteps echoing down your hallway and your dog growling at something you couldn't see? Welcome to Sherlock Mode. I lived alone in a haunted apartment for over a year. These are my true experiences. When I first moved in, I was desperate for a place of my own. My best friend found the apartment for me, and her sister was breaking her lease, so I took it. For the first year and a half, I lived there with my ex-husband, and things were mostly normal, except for one strange event. The apartment was on the second floor. As soon as you walked in, the kitchen was on the right, open to the living room. Past the living room, a 20-foot hallway stretched into darkness. 3 doors on the left led to 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, and at the end was the laundry room. My ex had a gaming computer in the living room, and I used the spare bedroom as my art studio. I always shut down my laptop and kept the studio door closed, especially with his 2 cats around. One night, I woke up to what sounded like his gaming computer playing a video. I thought maybe the cats had turned it on, but in the morning, I realized it was my laptop in the closed studio playing YouTube videos. My laptop needed a passcode to turn on, and I always made sure it was off. That night, the door was closed for hours before bed. Neither of us could explain it. We brushed it off as a computer glitch, but after my ex moved out, everything changed. He took his cats, and it was just me and my dog. She always slept in the bedroom with me. I started feeling watched, never fully at ease. The smell of stale cigarettes would drift in, sometimes in the laundry room, sometimes in the hallway, even though neither I nor the previous tenant smoked. The hallway always felt creepy. My friend said it gave her the creeps even when her sister lived there. Her sister had stayed for 10 years and never experienced anything, but for me, the dread was constant. About 6 months after the divorce, I started dating my current boyfriend. Sometimes he stayed over because I hated being alone in that apartment, and he worried about me. I started to wonder if someone was secretly living in my apartment. I lived in a rough area, so maybe a homeless person had snuck in. I heard things rattling in the kitchen at night while I lay in bed. But the most terrifying thing happened while I was in bed alone. My Great Dane, who is super laid back and never wakes up in the middle of the night, suddenly started growling. It was about 2 a.m. She was staring into the hallway, alert, baring her teeth. I had never seen her do that before. That alone scared me. I shushed her so I could listen, and then I heard it, the creaking and shuffling of footsteps coming down the hallway from the living room toward my door. My heart pounded out of my chest. I was convinced someone was in my apartment. Terrified, I slowly climbed out of bed and grabbed my pistol from under the bed. The footsteps got closer, and my dog kept growling. I walked toward my doorway, fully expecting to see someone in my hallway. The person I suspected had been secretly living there for months. But as I turned the corner, there was absolutely nothing. Relief hit me for a moment, but then I realized I needed to check the rest of the apartment. I found nothing. All my windows and the front door were locked. I barely slept that night. My boyfriend didn't experience as much as I did, but he believed me. He sometimes woke up in a panic in the middle of the night, feeling a wave of dread, like something was in the room with us. One night, while we were in bed, we heard the silverware drawer suddenly open and slam shut in the kitchen. We didn't even get up to check. By then, we were just trying to ignore everything. One morning, I went down to the first floor to get my mail. I lived above a restaurant and bumped into the owner. I told him I was moving, and he asked if I had ever experienced anything I couldn't explain in the apartment. My face went white. I told him yes, and asked why. He told me customers and employees had seen apparitions in the restaurant. He'd seen cans of food fly off shelves and felt the heavy, eerie feeling of being watched. He said a previous tenant in the front apartment had used an ouija board there. A self-proclaimed medium said she felt energy vortexes in the basement. Hearing this made me realize maybe it wasn't all just in my head. The last thing I remember happened one night when my boyfriend and I were getting ready for bed. I was already in bed, and he was brushing his teeth in the bathroom down the hall. My dog came into the bedroom to get onto her bed, and I said goodnight to her. My boyfriend came in and asked who I was talking to. I told him I had just said goodnight to the dog. He said he heard goodnight said out loud twice. I told him I only said it once. Thankfully, I moved out shortly after. Let's analyze this mystery like Sherlock Holmes. First, I experienced events that couldn't be explained by normal means, electronics turning on by themselves, footsteps, and voices. My dog sensed something I couldn't see. The restaurant owner and others also witnessed strange things, and the Ouija board session may have opened a door to something beyond. All the evidence points to a supernatural presence in that building. Maybe the Ouija board session opened a gateway, and the spirits tried to communicate. I'll never know for sure, but I'm glad I trusted my instincts and left. Thanks to Reddit user diligent_risk_2677 for sharing this story. If you want to read the original, check the link in the description. If you enjoyed unraveling this mystery, like and subscribe to Sherlock Mode.